My name is Victor Vane. I possess the Void Conduit physique, a rarity that marks me as a prodigy within the Lunar Sanctum. As the first lieutenant of Blade Spire and the organization's golden boy, I was once the untouchable idol of the underworld. But everything changed when Blade Spire recruited a new rookie, Julian Cross. Suddenly, the spotlight shifted. My mentor, Serafina Hart, a woman who used to dote on me, became distant. Even Chloe, the sycophantic junior associate who used to trail behind me like a lost puppy, started orbiting Julian. I told myself I didn't care. My focus was on power, not popularity. But today, the atmosphere inside the tribunal room was heavy enough to crush bone. Victor, come clean. Did you steal Julian's amulet? The accuser was Serafina herself. Dressed in a crimson power suit that accentuated her pale, flawless skin, she was a breathtaking beauty, but her eyes held a chill I had never seen before. Standing beside her, Chloe immediately chimed in. Victor, if you took Julian's amulet, just hand it over. We know you're jealous of the attention he's getting lately, but that amulet is his late mother's only keepsake. How could you be so heartless? I let out a scoff, my gaze drifting over Chloe's duplicitous face. Who do you think you are? You really think a washed-up groupie like you can figure out what goes on in my head? Do you honestly believe anything you say matters to me? Chloe's face cycled through shades of red and white, her mouth opening and closing in silent humiliation. Enough! Serafina snapped, her voice cracking like a whip. How dare you speak to your colleague that way? I looked up, shooting her a look of pure disdain. I was once the Sanctum's best bet for achieving apex status. My words must have struck a nerve, forcing her to break her icy composure to defend her new favorite toy. Finally, Julian spoke. He maintained a carefully cultivated air of calm. Victor, you shouldn't speak to Chloe that way. I know I've upset you in the past, and I'm willing to overlook the times you've tried to sabotage me. But that amulet is all I have left of my mother. Please, just give it back. He played the part of the magnanimous victim perfectly. My eyes narrowed. I unleashed the pressure of a grandmaster, my aura exploding outward as I lunged. You're barely a rank-and-file soldier, yet you dare posture in front of me? Before the sentence was finished, a massive hand formed of golden energy materialized, large enough to crush the ceiling, and swatted at Julian with the force of a collapsing building. Just as the blow was about to land, a streak of light shot out from Julian's chest, a cracked, ancient bell. It spun, creating a force field around him. The sound of the bell, tolling, resonated through the entire Sanctum headquarters. The energy hand slammed into the bell, dispersing 99% of the force. But even the fraction that got through hit Julian like a freight train, sending him flying back, vomiting blood before he passed out cold. My eyes sharpened. That bell was damaged, but the aura it radiated was undeniable. It was a relic of a divine. For a rookie to possess such a treasure meant he would become a fatal threat down the line. I couldn't let him leave this room alive. Murderous intent surged in my chest. I prepared to strike the killing blow when a furious shout stopped me. Traitor! You dare hurt him right in front of me. Serafina was incandescent with rage. She drew the phoenix blade from her hip, and a beam of brilliant sword light erupted, conjuring an illusion of a moon rising over the ocean. Her signature technique, the lunar tide. Parlor tricks, I sneered. I threw a casual punch, my energy shattering her grand display like glass. Serafina went pale. We were both grandmasters, yet I had dismantled her strongest attack effortlessly. Victor Vane, you commit violence inside the Sanctum? Do you have no fear of the High Council? I stood with my hands behind my back, my aura expanding to fill the room. I am at the peak of the Grandmaster rank. Look around this Sanctum. Who here can kill me? Who here dares to kill me? Victor, stand down. A voice, ancient and commanding, rolled in from the hallway. A figure in gray robes stepped through the air, the pressure of ascendant, one step below divine, crashing down on us like a falling sky. It was Evelyn Thorne, the Grand Matriarch of the Lunar Sanctum. Once the most beautiful woman in the Eastern Territories 9,000 years ago, time had finally claimed her looks. She now appeared as a withered crone. Serafina looked at her like a savior. Matriarch, Julian possesses the rare solar nexus physique. He is a generational talent. You cannot let Victor kill him. Evelyn had arrived, irritated by the noise, but upon hearing solar nexus, her cloudy eyes lit up with a disturbing hunger. She looked at the unconscious, bloody Julian not with pity, but with greed. The solar nexus body type was legendary for boosting the power of female partners. It was the ultimate living battery. I was a void conduit, possessing the potential of a divine. But in her eyes, my potential meant nothing compared to what she could extract from Julian right now to restore her own youth and power. She didn't even ask for details. Her face darkened. Victor Vane, as a lieutenant, you have violated the code by attacking a fellow member. I sentence you to 100 years in the cryo prison. Reflect on your sins. Serafina saw an opening. Matriarch, Victor has a stock of Immortality herb. It's a legendary healing agent. He should surrender it to heal Julian as penance. I looked at these two women, one my mentor, one my superior, conspiring to strip me bare. The white tiger herb was something I had nearly died retrieving from the necropolis zone. Serafina had tried to beg for it before, claiming Julian had cultivation issues, and I had refused. Now she was using the matriarch to rob me. I stepped forward, space twisting around me as the chaotic energy of the void rose. I don't have a herb, but if you want a life, I have one of those. My energy spiked, becoming unstable. No, he's going to self-destruct his Grandmaster core. Serafina realized first, her face draining of color as she screamed. Even Evelyn Thorne looked terrified. The explosion of a peak Grandmaster at close range could maim even an Ascendant. Boom! In the chaos, Chloe was already gone. She had slipped out the moment Serafina drew her sword. Without a divine artifact or high rank, she knew better than to be collateral damage in a clash of titans. Thank you, Matriarch. Deep inside a secret chamber of the lunar sanctum, Julian lay weak on a cold jade bed, whispering his thanks to Evelyn Thorne standing over him. Julian had a secret. He was a transmigrator. The moment he arrived in this world, he was bound to the Destiny villain system. The rules were simple. Crush the world's chosen one, to gain rewards and eventually ascend. But this world was broken. There was only one chosen one, Victor Vane. And Victor was 4 ranks above him and possessed the invincible void conduit body. Julian couldn't touch him. So, he played the long game. Using the newbie pack gift, the Solar Nexus body, he seduced the women around Victor. It was a classic trope. But despite winning over Serafina and Chloe, he hadn't gained a single point of Destiny value. He wondered if it was because he hadn't slept with them yet. While he was lost in thought, Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed. Julian looked at her wrinkled, ancient face and felt a spike of fear. Matriarch, what are you doing? Evelyn smiled, running a finger down his cheek. I took some damage saving you. I need your Solar Nexus body to help me heal. 9,000 years ago, that gesture might have been seductive. Now, it was the stuff of nightmares. No. No. Julian screamed, struggling. Evelyn's face went cold. She slapped him hard. Hold still. At the Heal Song sect. I opened my eyes, sitting cross-legged on a bed. A paper simulacrum had died. Through its transmitted memories, I saw everything. I rubbed my fingers together, thinking. I had planned to wait until Julian reached the Ascendant rank before harvesting his Solar Nexus source. Others thought my void conduit was natural. Only I knew it was acquired. If I could fuse the Solar Nexus essence, I could evolve into the legendary Void Celestial. But Julian had an irrational hatred for me. He had tried to rob me of resources multiple times. I had been forced to disguise myself and break his legs just to get some peace. I thought that would humble him, keep him in his lane. Instead, the moment he healed, he dragged the tribunal into it to frame me. And he had a divine artifact. Looks like I can't wait anymore, I whispered, a flicker of murderous intent crossing my eyes. I have to move the timeline up. I pulled out a comms crystal and injected a pulse of energy. Within minutes, the door opened softly. A woman in a sheer crimson dress walked in. The fabric clung to her curves, leaving little to the imagination. Roxy, at your service, master. She glided over and curled into my lap, guiding my hand to her waist. Spread the word, I said, my voice flat. Tell the world that Julian Cross of the Lunar Sanctum possesses the Solar Nexus physique. I want every cultivator in the primal world to know about it within a month. The Solar Nexus? Roxy froze, her eyes widening in shock. Why? Does that give you ideas? I raised an eyebrow, my tone dropping to 0 degrees as I pinched her side hard. I knew exactly what she was thinking. Dual cultivation with a Solar Nexus didn't just boost a woman's power. It purified her potential. It was the ultimate prize. Roxy cried out in pain, snapping back to reality. She threw herself on the floor. I wouldn't dare. I was just surprised, master. I looked down at her trembling form. I had a kill switch embedded in her soul. She wouldn't dare act on her greed. Go! I wave her off. Roxy scrambled out of the room, terrified. The far west of the primal world was home to the Yellowstone Exclusion Zone, a notorious forbidden ground. The lunar sanctum had forced me to sacrifice a valuable simulacrum. I wasn't going to let that slide. An eye for an eye. Yellowstone was shrouded in perpetual mist and radiated a terrifying pressure. It was the home of a self-sealed entity, the Pale Matron. A supreme was a former divine emperor who had severed their own cultivation to delay death, existing in a state between ascendant and divine. In an era without a current emperor, a supreme was invincible. If a supreme left their seal, they burned their own life force. To replenish it, they usually had to slaughter millions in a blood harvest. But for a female supreme, capturing a solar nexus and draining him dry was a much better alternative, potentially extending her life by 10,000 years. For the Pale Matron, Julian was a walking panacea. Days later, I stood at the edge of the exclusion zone. The entrance was covered in ancient killer rays that could shred an ascendant in seconds. I raised my hands, pressing my palms together, then slowly pulling my right fist above my head. My void energy erupted like a tsunami. Black currents laced with sword intent screamed through the air. I focused everything into my fist. Void strike. I punched the sky. A beam of black light slammed into the forbidden zone. The earth groaned. A terrifying aura, suppressed for eons, began to wake up. Who disturbs my slumber? A voice, old and piercing, echoed from the depths. A figure wrapped in rainbow radiance stepped out of the mist. Her face was lined with age, but her power was absolute. The Pale Matron. A void conduit. She looked at me, surprised, then scoffed when she sensed my level. Rank 3 Ascendant? If you were at the peak, I might worry. But you? You woke me up, so you can pay with your life essence. She prepared to crush me. Wait, I shouted. I didn't come to fight. I came to deliver the location of the solar nexus. Solar nexus? The matron froze. Her ancient face twitched with emotion. Boy, is this the truth? She was desperate. A solar nexus hadn't been seen in a million years. Absorbing him slowly over time was worth 10 void conduits. It is true, I said calmly. He is at the lunar sanctum. His name is Julian Cross. I turned to leave. Leaving so soon? The matron grinned, revealing jagged teeth. Words are wind. Let me search your soul to be sure. She waved a hand, and a river of silver energy poured from the sky. A divine technique, the Milky Way falls. I didn't run. I wanted to test the gap between myself and a supreme. Void annihilation. I punched rapidly, my black energy colliding with her silver river, shattering the flow. The matron narrowed her eyes. She pulled a gold hairpin from her hair. It swelled with power, a fully intact divine artifact. She flicked it. The pin turned into a beam of light and punched straight through my chest. My body dissolved into a sheet of yellow paper, drifting to the ground. The matron caught the paper, a simulacrum made of elderwood. She looked complicated. She feared the person behind this, but the desire for the solar nexus overwhelmed her caution. Lunar Sanctum, Julian Cross. She crushed the paper and vanished into the mist. 1 month later, Roxy was efficient. The news about Julian had set the world on fire. The lunar sanctum was now surrounded. A golden barrier, the lunar defense grid, covered the headquarters. Outside, thousands of powerful cultivators, mostly women, battered the shield. Among the chaos were men trying to stop their wives. The most famous were the Gemini duo, Atlas and Nova from the Sky Sword sect. They were a legendary couple, but now they were arguing. Nova, the white sword, was blasting the barrier. Atlas, the black sword, grabbed her arm. Nova, wake up. We've been together for centuries. You're throwing it all away for a rumor. Even if Julian has the body, it might not be a miracle cure. Nova retracted her sword, her face devoid of its usual warmth. Atlas, if you truly loved me, you'd support me. I'm doing this for a better future. She pulled against his grip. Besides, even if my body belongs to Julian for the cultivation ritual, my soul will always be loyal to you. Are you listening to yourself? Atlas stammered. Loyal to me? You're being narrow-minded, Nova said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Think about it. Once the barrier falls, you help me kidnap Julian. Once I use him to become a divine emperor, you'll be the emperor's husband. Isn't that better than being just another high-level couple? Atlas stared at her. The woman he had fought beside for years looked like a stranger. He opened his mouth, but no words came. He let go. Nova turned back to the barrier, attacking it with renewed fervor. Inside the lunar sanctum's war room, the elders were panicking. Where is Julian? If we don't hand him over, we're dead. The sanctum lord, a middle-aged woman, looked defeated. I don't know. The matriarch took him to the forbidden grounds behind the mountain. I can't get in. She wants him for herself. an elder screamed. She's dooming us all for her own vanity. Suddenly, a crushing pressure filled the room. The screaming elders had exploded. Evelyn Thorne appeared. She was no longer an old crone. She looked like a woman in her prime, radiating power. She had reached the late-stage ascendant rank. Any other complaints? She asked. The elders bowed, terrified. No, matriarch. Follow me, Evelyn commanded. We will show these vultures that the lunar sanctum is not to be trifled with. She flew out of the barrier. Who dares attack my sanctum? Her shout shattered the concentration of the attackers. The barrier dropped, revealing the mountain. Evelyn floated there, glowing with rejuvenated power. She unleashed a wave of force that crushed anyone below the ascendant rank into paste. Ah! Screams filled the air as bodies rained down. Suddenly, two powerful auras shot up to meet her. Boom! The collision shook the heavens. Evelyn staggered back. She glared at the two newcomers, Ivy Rose of the Floral Sect and Damien Black of the Yin Yang Sect. Ivy, Damien, Evelyn spat. What do you want? They looked at her youthful face and knew the rumors were true. Don't play dumb, Evelyn. Ivy laughed, her voice like wind chimes. You want to die? Evelyn summoned the moon wheel, a divine artifact that froze space. You aren't the only one with toys, Damien sneered. He summoned the Yin Yang grinder, a massive stone disc that crushed existence. Ivy opened the paradise umbrella. Kill her. The three titans clashed, their divine artifacts tearing the sky apart. While the battle raged out front, the back mountain was quiet. A purple force field blocked the path. Seraphina, Heart, appeared from the shadows. She held a black spike, a realm breaker. Julian, wait for me, she whispered obsessively. She jammed the spike into the force field. It shattered like glass. Seraphina rushed in, eyes wild. Julian is mine. Evelyn can't have him. No one else can have him. She took 3 steps before a hand punched through her chest from behind. Seraphina froze. She looked down at the hand, gripping her heart, then slowly turned her head. It was Chloe. What? Chloe's innocent mask was gone, replaced by a cruel sneer. Master, the solar nexus is a treasure. You want it? So do I. She crushed the heart. Seraphina collapsed. Chloe placed a hand on Seraphina's head. Your purine body is pretty good too. Don't mind if I take it. She drained Seraphina into a dry husk within seconds. Feeling stronger, Chloe walked into the secret chamber. Julian was chained to the bed, pale and broken. When he saw Chloe, his eyes lit up. Chloe, you came to save me. He had been used as a battery by Evelyn for a month. He was barely alive. Chloe didn't speak. She walked over and straddled him. Julian's face fell. No, Chloe, I can't. I'm empty. Shut up. Chloe slapped him. Not again. Julian sobbed. But the sex never happened. Chloe's body suddenly convulsed. Her skin cracked like porcelain, peeling away to reveal a man underneath. Julian stared in horror as the face of his nemesis appeared. Victor, surprise, I said, my hands clamping around his throat. I thought you self-destructed. Julian choked out. I smiled. I'm not a villain from your stories, Julian. I don't explain my master plan. I pushed my chaotic energy into him. I wasn't going to just kill him. I was going to consume him. The essence of the solar nexus flowed into me. It was warm, vibrant. My void conduit began to evolve, shifting toward the legendary void celestial form. The bottleneck keeping me from the divine emperor rank shattered. Julian withered away rapidly, his eyes bulging with terror until they went dark. He turned to ash. Where he died, a small golden light floated, pulsing. Ding! Destiny villain system detecting host vital signs. Detection failed. Unknown energy intrusion. Emergency protocol initiated. Shut up, I muttered. I grabbed the light and crushed it with my will. I analyzed it instantly. It was a sentient artifact that fed on luck to create reality. Julian's body was just a product of it. Too careless, I noted. Next time, I need better clones. I dumped all the luck I had harvested over the years into the artifact. It refined the energy and poured it back into me as pure celestial essence. Boom! I broke through. Outside, the battle was over. Evelyn, Ivy, and Damien were broken and bleeding on the ground. Hand over Julian. Ivy wheezed. Silence. A cold voice froze the world. The pale matron descended from the sky. She didn't waste time. She waved her hand, and thousands of cultivators exploded into blood mist, which she inhaled. She looked at the 3 prone leaders. Tell me where he is, and I might let you live. Evelyn, terrified, pointed at the others. I'll help you kill them. Just share the boy with me. Ivy and Damien looked desperate. They nodded at each other. They had to ally with the matron to survive. Stubborn, the matron raised her hand to wipe them all out. Suddenly, a pressure descended. Not an ascendant, not a supreme, a divine emperor. The world shook. The matron froze. "Who is ascending?" she screamed. A beam of gold light shot up from the mountain. I stepped out, teleporting instantly to the battlefield. Chaos energy swirled around me, bending gravity. I looked at the pale matron. "Matron, you incite chaos and slaughter the innocent to extend your pathetic life. Today I, Victor Vane, take my place as emperor, and my first act is your execution." "Victor Vane." The matron looked confused, then furious. "You lied to me. I delivered the boy," I said. "I never said he'd be alive when you got here." I punched. Chaos Emperor fist. A fist the size of a mountain, made of pure void, crashed down. The matron tried to block with her hairpin, but it snapped. The punch turned her into a mist of blood and bone. I absorbed her essence instantly. I turned to Evelyn, Ivy, and Damien. They were shaking so hard they couldn't stand. "You three held her off long enough for me to finish my work. I will bury you with honors." I didn't let them beg. My aura flared, and they disintegrated into dust. 1,000 years passed. The primal world knew true peace under my rule. I gathered the luck of the entire planet, forging a path to the higher dimensions. "Time to go," I said to the world. I opened the gateway. I led the entire civilization upward, ascending to the immortal plane. Story complete.